All right, guys, what's up? This is Brett Edwards again, the producer of Counter Cause. This is our second episode of Counterpunch, where we do a deep dive into the issues that we discuss on Counter Cause. This latest episode features Clay Garretson, who went through regeneration at his church. He's had a lot of ups and downs in his life, a really great journey. And in this specific video, Mark Owens, one of the hosts, is talking about the Fibonacci sequence and its recurrence through nature. Let's jump right into it.
I think we talked about this at the Bible retreat. But reoccurring numbers, like the number 3,
Fibonacci sequence,
or the number 7.
Yep. The Fibonacci sequence.
I don't even know what it's called, but dude, I just started noticing a trend, and I'm just underlining.
Yep.
What is that?
So the Fibonacci sequence, for anybody that doesn't know, and I didn't know it specifically, but it also ties into the golden ratio. And so here on Mathnasium, they talk about the Fibonacci sequence being recurring numbers in nature. It's 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 13, and so on. And so let's give some examples of this golden ratio in nature. So number one, believe it or not, honeybees. The honeybee family tree, specifically how they inherit their DNA, closely follows the Fibonacci sequence in the golden ratio. So based on studies, female worker bees inherit half their DNA from the mother, also known as the queen, and half from their father. But the male drone bees, however, they receive all of their DNA only from the queen. So as a result, while bees have only one parent, the queen, they still have 2 grandparents, the queen's the mother and the father, 3 great-grandparents, 3 great-grandparents, the maternal grandparents, and the paternal grandmother, and so on, okay? This pattern perfectly matches the Fibonacci sequence. Of course, as it goes on, the ratio between successive numbers approaches the golden ratio, approximately 1.618. Okay, let's move on to number 2, sunflower seeds. Sunflower seeds inside the center of the sunflower are arranged in spirals that follow Fibonacci numbers. So when you count the spirals, you might notice that you can count either 21 spirals clockwise and 34 spirals counterclockwise, or 34 spirals clockwise and 55 spirals counterclockwise. If you count spirals in both directions and divide the larger number by the smaller one, you'll get a value close to the golden ratio. So for instance, 34 divided by 21 equals 1.61904762. This is obviously listed. I'm not pulling this out of my rear end or off the top of my head. So this special arrangement helps sunflowers pack in as many seeds as possible and make sure that they have plenty of room to grow to reproduce. And what I'll do is I'll throw this graphic here of sunflowers and the weaving number within the center of the flower there. And I'll show you a graphic here. Number 3, pine cones. Similar to sunflowers, pine cones also have spirals that follow Fibonacci numbers. Each scale on a pine cone is arranged in a special pattern. When you count the spirals going in one direction, you might find, for example, 5 spirals going in one and 8 going in the other, or 8 spirals in one direction and 13 in the other. If you divide these numbers, you'll get values close to the golden ratio. Close, okay, so not exactly, but close. Flower petals, this is another one, and I brought this up in the episode, but I wasn't fast enough on my hands to get the graphics up and get the information, but I had heard it before, and I wanted to know, at least the hosts and Mark and Evan and Clay to know that there was a name attached to it. So many flowers have a number of petals that match Fibonacci numbers. For instance, the lily often has 3 petals, the buttercup 5, the chicory 8, the delphinium 13, and the daisy 21, and so on. The golden ratio may appear in the arrangement of flower petals. There are 360 degrees in a circle. If we divide the circle into a 137.5 piece and a 222.5 piece, the ratio between the longer arc and the shorter arc is about the same as the golden ratio. Okay, so this goes on for a little bit longer, but what's really interesting is how the golden ratio and Fibonacci sequence moves into the human body as well. So if we study faces, the face width to height, the height of the face from the top of the head to the chin divided by the width from the left cheek to the right cheek can approximate the golden ratio. And this is, you'll see this is in Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. This is also kind of the basis of the Countercause logo. Mouth width to nose width. The width of the mouth compared to the width of the nose should approximate 1.618. You should measure your own and see. Eye distance to nose width. The width of the nose is about 1.618 times the distance between the eyes. Nose to lip ratio, so on, same thing. The top of the nose to the center of the lips tends to be about 1.618 times the distance from the center of the lips to the chin. Okay, now here we go. We're getting into the hands and the arms. Hand and arm proportions may also show a correlation with the golden ratio. For example, when looking at the length of your forearm and the length of your hand, from the wrist to the tip of your middle finger, the ratio between these could approximate the golden ratio. Okay, now what's interesting is that in Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, he talked about, the arms, the wingspan should be equal to the height. That's not the case for me, per se. My arms are I'm 6 feet tall, and my arms, when I extend them out, are 6 feet 3 inches. So it's a little different. It's not perfect. Maybe it would have been perfect. I think that had I been fed a proper human diet when I was a young boy, I would have had a Vitruvian body, if you will. I would have had the golden ratio in the body, specifically the arms. What the arms tell me about my arms being longer than my height is that I should have been taller than I am. I have long legs, short torso, long arms. Anyway, I digress, but I think that one of the important things to understand is that if we are malnourished as kids and we eat a lot of processed food and we eat a lot of bread and yeast, then we will not grow into our full potential. Let's move on. Number 4, the golden ratio's influence extends even to the blueprint of life itself, DNA. In the structure of the DNA molecule, each complete cycle of its double helix spans 34 angstroms in length, representing its helical length, and 24 angstroms in width, representing its diameter. These numbers follow the Fibonacci sequence, and when 34 is divided by 21, it results in the divine proportion. So listen, a lot of people make the case that this is perfect evidence of a designer, somebody who is extremely intelligent beyond anything that we could possibly comprehend. And let's move on into the episode here as the guys get into the discussion about there being an architect.
The Fibonacci sequence. You can commonly spot these studies by studying the manner in which various plants grow. Interesting. Many seed heads, pine cones, fruits, and vegetables display spiral patterns that, when countered, express Fibonacci numbers. What does that mean?
But what does that mean?
So everything is like a 1, 3, or 5. So if you look at a certain flower, it'll have 5 petals or 3 petals.
1, 2, 3, 5, 8
is represented through all of nature.
What is that proof of, though?
Yeah,
That's
because
proof
we
that
know
there's an
designer.
architect,
Yes.
a designer.
God is the creator of all.
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
I think
I didn't
you
even
were
know that
talking
was
about
a
this earlier.
thing.
But the waiting, right? The waiting is the hardest part, just like Tom
It
Petty
is,
said.
it is.
But man, I think that is one thing that is so hard for us right now as we live to understand, because we're so used to this instant gratification with
Absolutely.
everything we do, right? Every post, you want to check it and get likes and comments and all this stuff. And I think this idea, but I love that. I love that about the Bible, because it takes things that like we think are so important and it kind of like reinforces how much like just trash it is.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yes, for sure. I think one of the things that I've been trying to teach my kids is that the simplest things in life are going to be the most satisfying. And we do live in this world where we want instant gratification. And what that does is that's going to give you a little bit of a dopamine hit, but it's not going to give you serotonin. It's not going to give you happiness. We talked about this in the last podcast about serotonin being the happiness drug and dopamine being the pleasure drug, and that you can get too much dopamine, but there's never been a case of someone being too happy. They might be annoying to be around, but that's because misery loves company and you're not on their level. I think it's hard to teach kids because we're victims of it ourselves, of wanting things right away. You know, Amazon does not help this at all. You order something, 2-day delivery. It's quicker than 2 days. Some days you get it same day or next day, and it makes you not even want to go out to the store or try anything on. We're living in this world where we want it and we want it now, and we're doing anything we can to get it. And we're outsourcing things to other countries. I could digress on this for a long time. But the point is we have to stop buying the cheap shit, and we have to start doing things that make us happy in the long term. Going for a walk in the sunshine, eating good food. Those are two things that are going to change your entire outlook on your day. I guarantee it. And at first you might be bored. You might think, oh, there's so much other stuff I could be doing. I could be getting so much work done. But it doesn't matter. You could be getting more work done, but you wouldn't be as efficient. So go for a walk. Eat something good. Take some time and make some food for yourself. The energy that you're putting into that food is going to come back into your body, and it's going to be more beneficial. Okay. Anyway, let's keep moving.
Dude,
You know what I mean?
when my daughter was like 4, we had her at kids YouTube on her iPad, and she started acting.
Let's get into this about
crazy.
kids
Like,
YouTube.
She started doing this bratty thing that was like, it was demonic. Like, I swear to God, it was the most demonic thing I've ever seen. And so finally, I'm like, what the hell is she watching? And I get her iPad.
I don't know. I don't know how to fix this sometimes, but I noticed this when my kids started going to school because they were with us for at least until kindergarten or pre-K, I want to say. But you work your ass off as a parent to teach your kids certain things and to teach them how to be and be likable. I think Jordan Peterson's even said that one of the most important things you can do for your children is to make them likable. If they're social and other kids like them, they'll get along, and it's almost even better than being smart. But one of the things that you're going to learn, and this is for young parents out there, is that your kid only seems to pick up on the bad stuff. Like, you don't see the good things. You don't see them saying thank you and please and helping other kids out. You don't hear about those things. But what you do see when they come back is you see the bad stuff. They pick up on the bad stuff extremely quick, and I don't know how to combat it. And maybe it's immaturity. Maybe it's just through repetition, and over time they learn that this is the right way of doing things, and that's kind of ridiculous. And so it's really frustrating as a parent, and I think you just have to stay the course, and you have to remove or starve the problem if possible. And so this is one thing about YouTube Kids. Let's hear Clay talk about it. But, if you can starve them of it, then the behavior will go away. So starve them of the problem. Let's go.
What is she watching? And I get her iPad, and these videos that she was getting fed through YouTube
That was me clapping because the cameras kept going out and overheating. So, but I loved what he was talking about. So I thought, let's throw it in the show.
a baby and was just being would be a total asshole to the parent.
Pushing over tables and stuff. Yes,
And
dude, I saw this too.
And so we figured it out. We got rid of it off the
what kind of
iPad.
adults
We
on
got rid
YouTube
of
Kids anyway?
She got on some other kid that was supposed to be a more kid. And a month into it, we found it on there too. And I'm like, what kind of demonic human being?
Yeah, what kind of garbage? Yeah.
Would put, and you could tell it was crafted by Satan, because when you clicked on the video, it didn't say bad baby.
Yeah.
It was like
I will tell you what kind of demonic garbage human beings are on there. Okay, you ready for this? This is just an article that I found on Petty Mom. She dubs herself the child safety expert, but YouTube Kids, there is still a huge problem. Okay, this article. She says in the last several days, there's been a lot of talk on YouTube and YouTube Kids of videos that are inappropriate for our children. One of those videos, the cartoon with the cartoon with the suicide clip, was brought to light right here on Petty Mom. I wish I could say that these are isolated incidents, but unfortunately I cannot. My research has led me into a horrifying world where people create cartoons glorifying dangerous topics. You ready for them? Self-harm, suicide, sexual exploitation, trafficking, domestic violence, sexual abuse, and gun violence, which includes a simulated school shooting. All of these were found on YouTube Kids, a platform that advertises itself to be a safe place for children 8 years old and under. Here are a few videos, she says. Now, it should be noted that I would say roughly half of these videos, I don't know when this article was posted, but roughly half of these videos are saying now that the video has been removed for violating YouTube's terms of service. Great. How many kids were infected before this got flagged in the first place? Okay, here's a Minecraft video with a shooting scene and swearing. She says the next one is a cartoon suggesting human trafficking. An injured and abused female character disguised as a pet wolf is bought for $400 from a masked man with a simple phone call. This one is a cartoon with a background song whose lyrics state, "Oh, she's hot, but she's a psycho." There is lots of shooting, violence, and threats to kill in this one. Moving on. In this next cartoon, a young girl commits suicide with a knife after her father dies and her boyfriend breaks up with her. In this cartoon, friends kill each other out of jealousy, and they look like demonic little alien anime beings. It's sick. It's sick, the people that make this, you know what I want to say. I caught myself. I probably already sworn anyway. All right, here we go. And finally, this cartoon has descriptive writing about a girl who is stopped from hanging herself. It speaks about standing on a chair and having a noose around her neck. Well, great thing she stopped. But you know what the problem is? Who's given her the idea in the first place? Kids don't think of this shit. That's the problem. They don't think of these things, and all of a sudden, who gives a shit if she's saved? The damage has already been done. The seed has already been planted, and they know exactly what they're doing. I mean, what kind of asshole makes videos like this and puts it on a platform called YouTube Kids? Do they think they're being real? Do they think they're just being honest and showing what reality's like? No, it's absolutely demonic. I think Clay's right. I think Evan's right here. It's terrible what they're doing. And you know that if it's on the internet and it's bad, your kids are probably going to find it unless you're helicoptering them and regulating them. The YouTube scares the crap out of me. And I know this show's on YouTube. There's a lot of beneficial stuff on YouTube. And Clay's right. He talks about it later in the episode where he says, maybe the problem isn't YouTube. Maybe the problem is us as parents, where we're not guiding them to watch the right things. I can't tell you how my life has changed personally from watching YouTube videos. The information that I've learned about nutrition, about fitness, about mental and spiritual health. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of education that you can get on YouTube. You can go watch hundreds of videos by Andrew Huberman, who's a Stanford professor in neurobiology. Nobody in the history of man has ever had an opportunity to listen to a talk or a lecture from Stanford University for free. This is an exciting time to live in, but with that comes a certain amount of responsibility, and we have to be on top of it. I mean, I'm not really letting this video play the way I thought I would, because these topics are really cutting to the core of me, because I have a couple girls, and I'm really... We do let them watch YouTube, but we don't let them watch YouTube by themselves. They have iPads, but what's great about the way we do with iPads is they don't get the iPads on a daily basis. They don't get to grab them whenever they want. The only time they get an iPad is when we're traveling, be it a car trip or on the plane. And what's interesting is they don't just get it when we're traveling. They have to get on the plane. They have to wait till we hit 10,000 feet. They wait for the bell to beep. Boom. Then, like everybody else, they can turn the electronics on. They don't just get to hang out with it while we're in the waiting room in the airport waiting to get on the plane. They don't get to sit with it in the chair while we're taxiing on the runway. None of that. They have a certain amount of discipline. Now, at home, do they watch YouTube? Yes. Okay. But do they watch it by themselves? Absolutely never. Because it's so fast, it's so fast how you could just denigrate from something that seems innocent to, you guys have seen it. You guys know social media. You click and all of a sudden you're like, how the hell did I get on this? Okay. Anyway, this lady goes on pettymom.com. There were just so many videos, she says, that I had to stop recording. I settled for screenshots of some, and I can throw some in here. But, it's unbelievable, the things that don't get flagged. And then it's really unbelievable, the things that do get flagged. It's clear that there are sides being taken. Which side are you on?
I clicked on the video. It didn't say bad baby.
Yeah.
It was it looked like it was going to be a family type thing. And then like 20 seconds into it, it went into this.
And goes into that?
Yeah, it was crazy.
That is crazy.
Probably some lunatic overseas that's like, let me feed these American kids.
How can I mess up some kids?
Let me ruin the American.
I love how convicted Clay is here. I love how serious he is. He knows that it's not a game being played. He knows that it's a spiritual battle going on. And he's totally awakened by this. And you can see it in his eyes. You can see it by what he didn't know before or what he knows now. And now he's a spiritual warrior for it.
In the American family.
We had a thing happen with my son where he was on that game Roblox.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a game that he would play on there. It was called YouTube Tycoon, I believe. And like it was like he loves YouTubers. He thinks that's like the
Every
coolest thing.
kid is playing
he got this
Roblox
game
right
and
now.
he
I don't
loved
get it.
But there's a part in the
Our
game
kids don't play it.
where you had to go visit somebody, some like Satan looking thing in like a cave. And the only way that you could progress in the game, the character would ask you, something along the lines of, will you sell me your soul?
Wow.
And if
Will
you
you sell
don't
me your
press
soul?
yes, you
Great.
can't progress in the game.
Oh.
So like my kid, at the time he was like 8, he was like, oh, yeah, sure. And then like he showed us that game, and my wife and I, like, we flipped
There's
out.
all
I mean, I
kinds of
freaked out,
stuff
but
like
my
that.
wife just like lost it. And like we had to like have like a talk with him, like, hey, I'm sorry, I know everybody plays this, but
But you can't anymore. What kind of asshole does that? You know what it is? I've seen the people. My wife used to work in an office in Santa Monica, California, and the floor, 2 floors below them, was a company called Riot Games. And it's just a different group of people. They all showed up in their sweatpants to work. They look like they had just rolled out of bed. And maybe this is extremely judgy. I don't know. But it's just, those are the types of people making video games. And you just, and my wife worked in private equity and finance. And it's just the discrepancy between the two is, it's night and day. And a lot of them did work by night. Ironically enough, they were just coming to work when my wife was going down the elevator to get off work. But it's when you meet these kinds of people, these corrupted people that are making these video games, I think they're just not thinking. They think it's cool, but they don't have any spiritual guidance in their life. And they're, the corrupted love to corrupt. And misery loves company, like I've said it before. So anyway, that's all for this edition of Counterpunch. I hope you guys check out this episode with Clay. It was an awesome episode. We'd love to have him on again. He's been through a heck of a journey in his day. You got to check it out. You can't miss it. And we didn't even get the full story, right? We didn't have enough time. We could have gone for at least 2 or 3 hours more. We're going to have him back on soon. Anyway, here's the link. I hope it should be playing right above here. There's a link for you guys to click on the full episode. Check it out. Take care. See you on the next Counterpunch.